How's it going, guys? Today I'm here at the Macquarie University Lizard Lab and I'm going to give you guys a little tour of this place today and hopefully you enjoy.
I'm Martin Whiting. I'm an associate professor at Macquarie Uni in the Biological Sciences department, and I have a research group that we informally call the Lizard Lab. And basically most of our work is sort of in the area of animal behavior and behavioral ecology, which has sort of an evolutionary component to it. So we're interested in quite simple questions like why animals do the particular things they do, why they've evolved particular behaviors or particular structures, things like color patches. Why are some male lizards particularly brightly colored? How has that evolved under this process of sexual selection? We do a lot of work on social organization in lizards and social systems, and we've got a new research grant with Jeff Wild's lab at the University of Tasmania on sort of the evolution of family living in lizards. And we do quite a bit of work on cognition and learning in lizards. So we have projects looking at the relationship between learning ability and invasion success, for example, or the relationship between learning ability, or what we call behavioral flexibility, and social and mating systems. So quite a wide range of projects sort of in animal behavior and ecology and evolution.
Well, welcome to the Lizard Lab. This is where it all happens. We've got our main house, which is where all the offices are, and we've got a wet lab that we can go and have a look at, and then another room where we just have all our equipment, and we have our lab meetings over there. Then we've got a shed over here where we do a lot of the cognition work. So at the moment we've got blueies and sleepy lizards in there, and then we have what we call the cognition center, but it's really just a complex of rooms where we do a lot of animal behavior work and also performance work. So we can measure sprint speed, endurance, temperature preference, and things like that. And then a short walk from here, we've got all the outdoor enclosures that we can go and have a look at. So these are some outdoor lizard enclosures that one of my PhD students, James Baxter Gilbert, built for his water dragon project. And his project was specifically looking at how water dragons are adapted to living in urban environments. So he raised lots of baby water dragons, and that project has now come to an end, and he's busy publishing that work. But these are really just short-term enclosures that are probably going to be removed, but were really useful for his study of urban evolution and adaptation in water dragons. So this is our sort of netted enclosure with we've got 40 plastic tubs that are 3 meters in diameter, and they're great for keeping different species of skinks mainly. The one issue is that they're slightly low, so if you have any agamids, they can hop out. But we can sort of put in an enclosure that, like we've done at the top there, that'll stop something from jumping out. So typically we would keep lizards in here that we're doing doing behavioral experiments with, and we can use these tubs for different experimental manipulations. And yeah, it's just a really good setup for keeping lizards outdoors, where they do much better, and they tend to be a lot more healthy living outdoors under semi-natural conditions as opposed to indoors.
And keeps the budget down for lights and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. It keeps the budget down. The lizards are happier. And in the past we've had blueies, we've had eastern water skinks, we've had tree skinks, we've had water dragons, we've even had an agamid whose name now slips my ever-failing memory. So yeah, we've had a whole range of species, and it's been a really good resource for all these projects. So this is one of our lizard rooms. We've got two small buildings, and then this is more like a complex of rooms, and we've got a whole lot of Lampropholis in here, which are the small delicate skinks that are very common around Sydney, and Christine is in charge of maintaining the colony, you could say, and she's busy feeding a whole bunch of baby skinks baby crickets, because they are all these are particularly small skinks, so we have to special order these tiny crickets that they can eat. So this is a project that Dan Noble is running along with Fonty Carr, one of his PhD students. So they're interested in a whole bunch of questions about pace of life and life history, and whether the developmental environment of the egg and the offspring impacts on all sorts of traits like growth rates and metabolic rate and learning ability and things like that. So yeah, we've got the advantage of having this great facility is that we can raise lots of lizards under controlled conditions to answer these sorts of questions. Yeah. So this is just another small room that we have in the Cognition Center. So we've got racks where we can stack up quite large numbers of lizards, providing they're relatively small. So again, we've got more of the Lampropholis delicata here, the delicate skinks that Dan Noble and Fonty Carr are currently working on. But in the past we've had geckos and tree skinks and all kinds of things. So it's quite useful having a number of these small rooms where we can keep large numbers of lizards for behavioral experiments. So this is what we call the Cognition Center, which is a bit of a misnomer because we use this room for a lot of things, but it was called the Cognition Center because we've got this big setup of this big camera system which links to DVRs, and we've used it in a lot of studies on cognition and learning in lizards. But basically it gets used for a wide range of studies on animal behavior. But the main feature is just all the camera systems that are set up on all these shelves. And then we also do some performance work. So we have this human treadmill here, which has a special setup that goes on top, and we can measure endurance in lizards. But basically, if you sort of have a little look around, you'll see that we've got lots of containers containing various lizards. For example, Ivan is doing his PhD on how global warming impacts behavior and how it affects reproductive mode, and Victorian is helping him with some of this work. So maybe Ivan,
can tell you about what he's
Yeah.
up to.
Okay.
So we are using a very interesting species which is called Xyphus equalis, or maybe the common name you will know it's three-toed skink, yellow-bellied skink, and it's very interesting because they have populations that are oviparous, kind of like they lay eggs and the eggs incubate for a long time, and they are also have viviparous populations. So it's a very useful model species to test what will be in the interplay or the relation between the reproductive mode and the global change. So basically we're testing, as Martin said, a lot of things that the climate change will affect in them. We are testing morphology, behavior, like foraging behavior, anti-predator behavior, some of exploratory behavior also, and we are also doing locomotor performance. So we adapt this small treadmill that we got from another lab, and we were doing some crowd work with them, and look, it's really nice, it looks really cool. And we are testing, we are not expecting a lot because they are kind of, if you know the species, you know that they are more like a snake form and their legs are very small. So we have tested a lot of animals, and apparently it's very consistent their performance, but yeah, as we expected, they are not very good as running. They are not taking a lot of time here. Okay, so go inside, that's it. So we went until they're in the half of the terminal, and then we start now. So they are. It's getting We are also recording. I can send you some videos if you want.
How's this lizard going?
They are really good, but
Wow, I'm amazed he's keeping up.
yep. And then stop. We stop this. Then we put them back, not to force them.
So this is another one of our animal rooms. It's currently being used for some cognition studies. In fact, Birgit is doing her PhD work on comparative cognition and behavioral flexibility in family living lizards, including some species that don't live in families but are part of that same group. And she's being ably assisted by Sebastian over here. But the general setup is that we've got all these cameras, they hook up to DVRs, and we have individual lizards in the tubs, and they're given a particular problem that they have to solve, and it all gets recorded on film and then analyzed later from the video footage.
So we're presenting the lizards with different cues, different colors and shapes. One of them is associated with a reward, so the open dish is in front of the positively reinforced one. And the lizard has to figure out which color or shape is actually positively reinforced and go there to find its food. If it goes to the wrong side, it is not rewarded.
So these are our giant outdoor enclosures. We've got 6 of them. They measure 16 meters by 10 meters, and we originally built them for experiments on lizard mating systems and social organization. So the cool thing about these enclosures is that we can basically replicate conditions in the wild, but we can have a lot more control over the social interactions that the animals would have and which individuals they would encounter. We can manipulate the number of shelters and resource availability. We can connect the enclosures so we can study dispersal, for example. So in the past we've done a big study on mating systems in water skinks, in Eulampris koiai. So we had a large number of males and females in each of these 6 enclosures, and we had measurements on their physiological performance, so things like sprinting ability and endurance, and we studied their reproductive tactics. So some males will defend territories and other males will adopt a satellite strategy, and we could look at the fitness of those two strategies. So when all the females were pregnant, we brought them into the lab, and then when they gave birth, we could genotype all the offspring and link that back to the reproductive strategy of the males that fathered those offspring. So our next big study using these enclosures is going to be a project on understanding the evolution of family living and how plastic that is in the Agonia group, which is a very well-known group in Australia because so many species live in families. So we can manipulate resources and see if we can generate the sort of conditions that you need for family living in a species that wouldn't normally live in a family, and likewise we could manipulate resources in such a way that a family living species might actually adopt a different strategy. So we can study how plastic family living is in lizards. But yeah, it's an amazing facility. It's a little overgrown at the moment because we don't have anything in them at this point in time. But the plan is to clean them up and set up some really exciting experiments on social living in lizards. So this is our wet lab where we can bring lizards in and do morphological measurements. We can look at things under the microscope. We've also got a lot of incubators. We've got 5 incubators for our various studies on the influence of the incubation environment on phenotypic or on traits that might be plastic to development. So that's some of the work that we're doing with respect to global warming projections. And then we've also just got a -30 freezer for all our DNA samples. We've got our whole O2, our oxygen analyzer for all the metabolic work. And yeah, so this is just the sort of wet lab space that we use.
So thanks for watching, guys. That was just a quick look around at the lizard lab and a quick look at some of the things that are going on at the moment. Things are always changing and there's always something new going on. So make sure you guys check out their Facebook page and website and whatever else related to the lab for constant updates and more info on what's going on. I'll leave some links to those in the description down below, and if you guys have any questions, make sure you leave a comment, like this video if you got something out of it, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.